welcome back to my channel. I'm James, and today we're going to be talking about and discussing one of these great 1979 like prison escape dramas that had Clint Eastwood in it. And it's personally one of my kind of like guilty pleasure, just absolutely enjoyable films that I've always enjoyed watching. So I'm happy to announce we're going to deep dive into Escape from Alcatraz, the brand new 4K Ultra HD release from Kino, Lorber, and Paramount Studios. Now this was sent to me about 3 weeks early from Kino Lorber for review, and I always appreciate when they send me early things for review so that way I can do all my exclusive testing. I'm going to be doing my exclusive 4K versus the original Blu-ray release image comparisons as well. That way you can see side by side what the differences are between this new 4K restoration and remaster versus the previous 2015 Blu-ray release by Paramount Studios. Now there's a lot of interesting things I discovered when I did all my exclusive testing and image comparisons that I'll be sharing all of that as I go along through this video as well. And then at the end, as always, I wrap it up with my review scores. That's always to let you know the quality of this release, if it's worth buying or upgrading over the previous Blu-ray, and let you know how this compares to hundreds of other 4Ks I've exclusively tested and reviewed here on this YouTube channel. Now I need all of your help to hit my subscriber goal for this year for this YouTube channel. We're on track to come pretty darn close by the end of this year of hitting 10,000 subscribers. The only way I can do that is if you go down and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, and don't forget to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. So make sure to go down there and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way we can grow this channel and hit our goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Now to start off with, I'm going to show you the original 2015 Blu-ray release that I own here. The image is always the native image pulled directly from these discs. As I've explained hundreds of times over the years here on this channel, as a lot of you have heard me say over and over, I always have to explain it because I always get questions about this. This is always the native image pulled directly from the disc. What that means is, without all the things your TV can artificially do to change that image. That means that's what's present on the disc without you pumping the color way up or turning contrast up to 100. So the image that's present on the original Blu-ray disc was always a softer image. It had numerous digital noise issues. It had numerous problems with like circles in the image, little tears, smudges, wrinkles, and the actual color grading on the original Blu-ray was actually off. It was very yellowed, orangey, especially on like a lot of like white surfaces or clothing or facial. It was always right around that kind of orangey brownish color tone on the original Blu-ray release, which it wasn't intended to look that way. It's just when they did that Blu-ray, they didn't do a correct color grading. They didn't really remaster it well. There were so many things wrong with that release. The audio was very soft on it. It didn't sound great. It didn't have great range. So there was a lot of things with that Blu-ray that always disappointed me. So I was really hoping when Paramount and Kino Lorber announced they were going to do this brand new 4K scan from the original camera negatives, I was hoping that this was going to be something that was going to produce an image that was worthwhile, that actually gave us something to be excited about with Escape from Alcatraz, which is such a great film. Now on the new 4K Ultra HD release from Kino, Lorber, and Paramount here, there is a lot of things I discovered on this that are nice improvements over the previous Blu-ray. As you probably noticed right away, on the new 4K Ultra HD release, as always, this is the native image off of this 4K. So if you have a professionally calibrated display or a correctly calibrated display, you should see a very similar image based off of the native image on these discs. Now, this is where some people get a little confused. You could have a display that is incorrectly calibrated, or you've taken things that it came from the manufacturer as, which is incorrect most of the time anyways, and the colors could be off, or you could see something slightly different because the contrast is way high or way low. That's not the native image that's present on the disc. That simply means your TV is not set up correctly, and that's where 4K content makes a big difference, and I've talked about it a lot over the years as well. 4K content is more specific to the player you're using to watch it on and the display you're using to watch it on, being correctly calibrated, both of those, to make sure that you're getting the image the way it's supposed to be seen. Now there is such a thing as filmmaker mode on a lot of TVs nowadays that are modern within the last couple of years, but anything before that, any 4K displays before the last like 2 years, didn't have that option on them. So in that case, a lot of the times you had to go and get it professionally calibrated or correctly calibrated to even try to get the image to be what it should be when you're watching it. But that's a whole nother discussion that maybe I'll make a video on in the future here, kind of talking about all the issues and things that people need to be aware of with 4K content and why the image can slightly vary on people's displays versus what one person might have because they don't have it correctly calibrated. But on the image on the 4K, gone is that like heavy yellowish, orangish brown look through the entire film. They did a brand new color grading for the HDR10 and Dolby Vision that's on this. And I will say between the Dolby Vision and HDR10 presentations, they both looked really good. Now I will say in this case, I did feel like the Dolby Vision had a one-up over the HDR10. How much of a one-up? I'd say it's about a 10% difference. So it's not 20, 30, 40. But I did like the Dolby Vision presentation in this just a bit more than the HDR10. I just felt like the colors had a little bit more zip to them and the whites were just a little bit more whiter. But again, we're only talking a 10% variance here. So to be honest with you, if you have HDR10, you're still gonna enjoy the HDR10 presentation as well. Now keep in mind, the 4K screenshots are always dumbed down by YouTube's algorithm to standard HDR. So what you see above, the HDR will come out so much better on your home display, especially if you have it properly calibrated or professionally calibrated, than what you see above, because this is standard HDR that you're seeing on these 4K images above. So it will look a lot better when you especially have Dolby Vision. The Dolby Vision even comes out much better with the lights to darks and the colors and things like that, because YouTube's algorithm is dumbing it down. But as far as the image goes itself, there was healthy improvements. And I have some more of that I want to cover here with you in just a second. But if you do decide you're wanting to buy this after watching this video and hearing my review score at the end, as always, I post the Amazon links to pre-order or buy this, depending on when you're watching this, in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comments section below. That never costs any of you even a penny extra. But that does help to support the creation of each of these videos that I create and helps to support my YouTube channel. Amazon doesn't charge you anything extra ever by clicking on those links, and it's on sale for the same prices everywhere. So make sure if you enjoy watching these videos and you enjoy all this hard work I put into this, make sure to click through those Amazon links that I put in the description section or as a pinned comment in the comment section below if you decide after watching my review that you want to pick up and buy this. Now I was talking about that it does have Dolby Vision and HDR10, but this also is a native 4K 2160p representation. So it's not an upscale because they went back to the original camera negatives and did a brand new 4K scan, and that's what this is derived from. And Paramount Studios did that and then worked with Kino Lorber. And I will say the details and the improvement in the image is so drastic when you're watching it over the soft and all the issues that were present on that Blu-ray. They're gone primarily on this. I mean, there really wasn't many of those speckles and little like circles in the films. There was little smudges and blots and issues all over on that Blu-ray. Almost all of them were gone. There was only a few tiny ones I noticed throughout it. And overall, the image looked drastically improved over the Blu-ray in those instances as well. Now, there's several reasons why this looks so good as well that I'll get to later on a little bit about the testing, but the other big thing that's noticeable improvement on this new 4K release versus the 2015 Blu-ray is the fact of that all that digital noise that Blu-ray had on it. The Blu-ray had numerous digital noise and digital blocking and issues throughout it. That's all gone on this as well. And that has to do with and lends to the actual discs and things like that. The 4K disc in here, which I'll show you here in a minute, is a BD100. That makes a big difference because they don't have to over compress the content at all. And that's where the rough average bitrate comes into play. I've been doing a lot more of this recently, testing out the average bit rates with the content that's on there, the size of the disc, and a lot of that correlates, as you've noticed if you've followed me a while here on my YouTube channel, to the image and the stability of the image throughout. The film grain on this looked very good throughout. It was very stable throughout, only some slight fluctuations that are not heavy. We're talking very slight fluctuations. Overall, the film grain looked phenomenal throughout it. You could see it. It wasn't too heavy, but it also wasn't DNR'd out. You could just see it filmically throughout the whole thing. And it does look great and lended great to that. But a lot of the times, if you don't have a great bit rate or they compress the content down too much, you can have issues where it causes clumping with the film grain or blocking, where I've talked about that before. It's kind of where the film grain will block together digitally and cause like these little like squares or triangles or things like that that kind of appear throughout the screen. This didn't have any of those issues. The rough average bit rate on this was a very strong 90 megabits per second. Which again, that lends to the disc size, the not over being compressed and all of that. So great job by Kino, Lorber, and Paramount with that as well, because that's a very, very strong and healthy average bitrate that ran through the film, which what lends to not having those issues with film grain and stability in the film as well. Now, for a film that came out in 1979, I'm always really curious how good of a job they do with the audio on it. Well, I can tell you, and I am happy to report, that the English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 mix was an improvement on this drastically over the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray, as I stated at the beginning, had some audio issues where it didn't have great range. It had numerous instances of where it got very soft and you have to turn it way up, turn it way down. It had issues with fluctuations in the audio where you could even be listening to somebody talk and all of a sudden you couldn't hear them at all, and then they come right back in loud, and those were always present on the previous Blu-ray release. Those are gone on this new 4K. It sounded great throughout. I thought the range was much better. It did have some good bass in it. Now, obviously, it's not a Dolby Atmos here, but for this film being in 1979, it did have a nice improvement in the audio sense as well. So we weren't just getting an improvement in the visual quality-wise, we were getting an improvement in the audio quality-wise as well. Though I will state, there is some slight instances, and I want to be very, very specific on this. They're very insignificant, very, very brief, and very slight audio delays. And what I mean by that is there are a few milliseconds in only a few scenes that I noticed. I'm a mouth watcher, as most of you know. When someone's talking and I'm watching a movie, I watch their mouths move. And it's kind of something that I do. I don't know why. It's just always the way I've been. Well, sometimes when I'm watching their mouths, you can just briefly, in some instances on this, it would be like a millisecond behind. But it was very brief, and I'm telling you, very insignificant. Most of you will never ever see it, and you'd have to be super picky like I am even to pick up on it. But that does affect just a little fractions of a point on the review score, because I always try to pay attention to those things for all of you and be extra picky when I'm doing all of the testing, just to let you know. But they're very slight, very, very, very few of them. We're talking maybe about 4, maybe 5 times out of the whole movie that I noticed it. So we're talking very insignificant. And they're not something that, to be honest with you, 99% of people will ever notice. But as far as the English DTS HD Master Audio 2.0 stereo, that one sounded fine as well. But I personally enjoyed the 5.1, and that's what I wanted to watch it on. And that's the one that is the upgrade, in my opinion, that you're getting over the previous Blu-ray. Now, this does have English subtitles in it as well. So if you do need subtitles, it does have English subtitles in it also. Now, showing you what you get in this, you do get this really nice slipcover. I love the artwork that Kino Lorber chose for the slipcover. It's kind of the original poster artwork when it came out in theaters. I love the film. I love these Kino Lorber and Paramount releases, how they're sticking to the same spines that when you put them in your bookcase or you put them on your display, they all go so well together. And I really think Kino Lorber is doing an outstanding job with this. Talks about what you get in it. You do get audio commentaries, interview with screenwriter, interview with an actor, Larry Hankin. It also talks about that the film runs 112 minutes. Now, when you get inside here, you do get your 4K Ultra HD disc here. I did say that's a BD100, and I did exclusively test it. It is 100% region free. So for those of you worldwide that watch my channel, if you want to import or buy this through the link I've posted in the description section or as a pinned comment, that will ship anywhere worldwide from Amazon. So when you click on that link, it'll ship to you anywhere worldwide. This is region free. Though I did test the Blu-ray, as is par of the course for most of Kino Lorber's releases, it is Region A locked. So you'll be able to access and watch the 4K Ultra HD disc with the new 4K remaster and scan, but the Blu-ray disc, if you live outside of Region A, so outside of Canada, America, Mexico, you will need a multi-region or region-free player to view this disc. Now, the Blu-ray disc is a BD50, and I do have some other good news is Kino Lorber did not use the old bad scan from the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray on here contains the brand new 4K scan, just dumbed down without the HDR10, without Dolby Vision, and dumbed down to 1080p. So it is the 4K scan with the new color grading that looks much better, with all of the fixes and not the issues with all the tearing. So those of you that aren't 4K eligible yet or haven't bought 4K yet to say, you will be able to enjoy this Blu-ray with the new, basically, restoration without all the extra perks you get from the 4K disc. Because it does get that new restoration on it and looks drastically better than the previous Blu-ray. So I do applaud Kino Lorber for doing that, not cutting corners, They've been doing a great job with a lot of these releases. And if you haven't checked out some of my other reviews I've done recently of Kino Lorber releases, you'll want to check out like The Usual Suspects. I just did that one. That was an absolutely phenomenal release by Kino Lorber. And that video is available now. I know that release comes out here in about a week, so that one was about 2 or 3 weeks early, and I think it's still a week before that comes out. So you want to check that out before the release date, but that was a great release as well. I also just recently did The Score. That's another Paramount Studios release that was released on 4K. That's a great, fun crime mystery movie that I really enjoyed. I did that review as well. You'll want to go check out that review. I've done hundreds of them, so there's tons of content to dive into. And I do really feel, just like with this release, The Score, and The Usual Suspects, Kino Lorber is really doing a good job with a lot of these. And I'm really impressed, especially with one of my favorite films, Escape from Alcatraz. I love this film itself. Now, talking about a few negative things, as I kind of mentioned, there was a few instances of some things that did come up. Well, throughout this entire film, what was present on the previous Blu-ray was what I would call color fluctuations. That was where sometimes you would get something where it would go from a color that wasn't incorrect to another color, like on the same person's face. It would just fluctuate. That is one instance where there was 2 instances throughout the film that I did notice some slight color fluctuations. Now, this is a brand new 4K scan, so it does make me think, based on that, because the same instances existed on the Blu-ray, that it might have to do with the actual film elements, that they were damaged enough that it just caused some slight fluctuations in their face colors. And it's basically like where Clint Eastwood's character, his face would be like normal skin tone, and then it would go really white for a split second and then back to normal skin tone. Where just kind of in that scene, everything just kind of got slightly whiter and brighter for a minute, and then back to, and it's the whole scene, it's not just his face, it's noticeable if you're watching his face when he's talking. Where his shirt will, instead of it being kind of like that denim blue, it'll kind of just get really white all of a sudden, just like everything else, and then kind of go back. But the same thing was instances on the actual Blu-ray. So it does make me think that's something that was damaged on the original film elements that just has never really gotten fixed. So it's not something I can really say is too horrible. It's very brief, and it was only really in like 2 instances for just a split second. Now, the big other improvement that I did notice throughout it was, like I said, that orangish, brownish, yellowish tone to like their skins and whites. That being gone lends to such a drastic change and why this looks so much better as well. There's so much more beautifully detailed image and depth to the image. The lights to darks looks great on it with no black crush throughout it, especially in that opening scene. You can see everything just like you're supposed to without black crush, and HDR and Dolby Vision looked great on it. So I did think they did a great job with that, which lends to, again, that high average bitrate makes a difference without causing any of that blocking, especially in those darker scenes. Now, the real nice thing about what Kino Lorber and Paramount did here is fixing so many of those smudges, tears, and little things that showed up on the Blu-ray and previous transfers. They're gone on this and look so filmic overall. Film grain was great on it. It was very stable through almost all the film, and I really enjoyed the movie overall. Now, getting to my review score for Escape from Alcatraz on 4K Ultra HD. This gets a superb 9.6. It is a must-buy. You need to pick this up and add this to your collection. You will enjoy this the best you ever have, especially compared to that 2015 Blu-ray that was so poor in so many areas and was just a really poor HD transfer in the first place. This blows it out of the water. I can't emphasize it enough, and I know it's hard sometimes when you watch a bunch of my videos and you've been following me for a while. I try to give you an idea by going through and doing all the testing and data and give you those review scores, but really, Kino Lorber, the last like 3 or so reviews I've been doing have really been stepping it up. They're doing an outstanding job. These Paramount releases, I really enjoyed Escape from Alcatraz. For a film that came out in 1979, what a superb job Kino Lorber is doing. Paramount Studios working with them, I love it. Let's keep it coming. I hope they sign more films with them. I hope they bring The Phantom. I talked about that. I'm still waiting for that one. I'm hoping that's one of the titles they've got. There are so many great Paramount Studio releases that really need to get this treatment to replace those horrible Blu-rays that had all those issues so that we can enjoy these great classic films in the best quality they've ever been released. 9.6, this is a must-buy to add to your collection if you love Clint Eastwood. It's basically one of those films where he gets put in Alcatraz for the crimes he did. It's about him working with some other cast members to escape, and it's really kind of one of those films that I always enjoyed, that it sets up this whole great escape of them planning it, figuring it out, figuring how they're going to do it, doing each and every like little iota of the details. It really reminds me a lot and harkens back to The Great Escape, which is one of my favorite releases of all time. That's another great Kino Lorber release. If you haven't checked out that review, I did that review many years ago, but Kino Lorber did a great job with that one, though I wish that would have had HDR. If I remember correctly, that was just SDR, that it didn't have HDR, and it was just a native 2160p. But anyhow, I digress for a minute. That was a great release. This film, though, with the HDR looks outstanding. I absolutely loved it. The Dolby Vision looked great on it. You gotta pick up and buy this. Make sure to start that conversation in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on this film, how excited you are for this release now. Let me know if you're gonna buy it now. Make sure to use those links I've put in the description section and as a pinned comment down below. That way that does help support this YouTube channel just a little bit. There's never any cost extra to you for that. So make sure to click through those links below, especially if you want me to keep creating this content. All of that little support makes a big difference. If you enjoy all the hard work I put into these, make sure to join my Collectors VIP Club. That's the only way I can continue always to keep creating this content. My VIP Club members, I really appreciate all your love and support. Every single time somebody joins that, the few dollars it costs you, less than the price of a cup of coffee, drastically makes a difference in supporting the creation of all of these videos. I have to take tons of extra time, which is why I cannot release 5 to 10 videos a week, is simply because it takes me so many days to pull all the data off of the disc, do all these side-by-side image comparisons, and exclusively test out all the data on these. That is why these videos and what I create is so exclusive. And that's why no one else does all the screenshots or image comparisons themselves and does all this hard work. That's why it's something I exclusively do. So make sure to join my Collectors VIP Club. It only costs you a couple of bucks, but it makes a night and day difference in the creation of these videos so that I can keep spending all this time creating all this content for all of you. You can also give a super thanks through the super thanks button down below. You can give $1, $2, $5, whatever you want to give through that. It's just like a tip that goes right back into these videos as well. Again, any of that support truly does make a big difference. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the support you've given me over the years. I'm truly blown away and humbled by it. And I love how this channel is growing, and let's keep it growing. So make sure to go down, if you haven't done so already, give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. And I hope all of you have a blessed day. And I've always got something new and very exciting coming out very soon.